All right, Brian, we've got people filing in, so we'll give everybody
Nice.
a few minutes.
Yeah, let's give them a couple minutes.
Absolutely. They're coming in hot, Brian.
Okay.
All right, so that I don't cheat you out of any time. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today for the One West Tourism webinar with our dear friend Brian Matson. Brian, we're thrilled to have you. Brian, of course, is with TwoSix Digital and definitely no stranger to One West and our members. So we're so thrilled that you could join us today, Brian. Thank you so much, and take it away, sir.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Melissa. This is a great opportunity. Really great timing for a webinar like this today. We're going to do marketing trends, missed opportunities, and DMOs. Looks like we have a pretty good slate here, too. I think there's over 40 attendees on this webinar today, so incredible. For anybody who isn't familiar with who I am, let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm Brian. I've been in the travel, tourism, hospitality space now since 2003. I actually come from CVB land. I was the marketing director at the Fargo, North Dakota Convention Visitors Bureau. And 2012, I went agency side, and I really haven't left, right? So you'll probably see me at national, regional, state conferences, things like that. Currently, the director of education and strategy at TwoSix Digital. For those of you not familiar with TwoSix Digital, we're a full service agency, and we offer integrated marketing solutions exclusively, really, to hospitality, CVBs, DMOs. DMOs are really our bread and butter, the majority of our clients. We've got over 50 years now of combined tourism experience on our team, and we're headquartered just outside of Ann Arbor in Brighton, Michigan. All right. Some of you on the call probably already working with some of the 2/6 team. We got Dave Scout, myself, Ashley, Nick, the data guy. We got McKenna, and we've got Emma and Sydney on the team. Um, you know, Easy for me to say. I think these are the smartest people in tourism right now. Absolutely love these guys. We're doing some great work for a lot of destinations across the country. So this is just a sample of some of the DMOs that we're working with. And again, whenever I start a presentation, I always like to just say, here are some of the people that we're working with. Here are some of the people that are doing it really well. They've gone through our coaching, our consulting, all this different stuff. So I always encourage you to go and scroll their feeds, go steal some ideas. Most importantly, get inspired, right? Go get inspired to help yourself do some better content marketing along the way as well. So good stuff. If you want to learn more about 2/6 Digital, some of our services, you can go ahead and scan the QR code. That'll give you a download of some of our services. And yeah, you'll get a copy of the deck too as well. So I think I only have 161 slides to work myself through here in the next hour. So we'll be going pretty hard. But the other reason we're having this webinar today as well is to introduce our newest program to you. And I think this really can serve a lot of DMOs well in helping to uplift their entire destination. The program's called Destination Uplift. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it right now, but essentially what it is an ongoing annual partner education program that the DMOs can offer to all their members, their partners, and even all the small businesses in that destination, because so many businesses maybe not tied directly to tourism, but they still play a vital role in that visitor experience. So we developed Destination Uplift to be an ongoing digital marketing education program that DMOs can offer to their CVB, offer to their partners. And the whole idea is the rising tides lift all boats. The better each of your individual partners can do their marketing, the better the overall destination is going to be able to market themselves. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But first, I've got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about here. So let's dive right in to trends and missed opportunities. All right. And there's a lot of them because, like many of us know, in the world of digital marketing, everything's changing constantly. I don't know how many of you on the call today are, say running Meta ads and using Meta Ads Manager. Seems like every week that you open up that platform, things are completely different. You have to almost relearn things. There's that aspect of it. There's the technical piece, but there's also some broader trends that are going on in the industry right now. So I just want to take this first portion of this webinar to really walk through the stuff that I'm really seeing on a day-to-day basis. I do, geez, I don't even want to know how many hours of consulting one-on-one with DMOs, with marketing directors, things like that, where I get a really good sense of the pain points, what people are dealing with, and where we need to be focusing some attention. So I'm just going to shoot through kind of my top 10 list today of trends, missed opportunities that I think could really help position DMOs in a really, really good spot. So let's hop in to number one. And this one's number one for a reason. I'm not like making you wait for these in any particular order at all, okay? It comes down to security of these accounts right now. I would say in the last year, I've had at least three, DMO Instagram accounts, 20,000 plus followers, get hijacked and lost forever. Okay. So if you've been holding off on two-factor authentication, or maybe you haven't updated your password in the last 3 years, you absolutely need to do that. It's absolutely soul crushing to see people and the effort that they put in to build up these accounts, only for like one random click for that account to be taken over, hijacked. And from my experience, we have a meta rep in a lot of cases that can help us. But I'd say our success rate of getting those old accounts back is probably less than 15, 20%. So once they're hijacked, they're really hard to get back. So I really encourage you to keep an eye out for anything that feels kind of sus. All right. Most of the time when people have been hit with this problem, and we're seeing it more and more, they just clicked they clicked a link in an email that looked like it was from Meta, or it looked like it was from Google, right? So here's a great example of one right here. It'll look like this. This looks like a legit email from Business Manager, right? But if you take it a little dive a little closer, if you just take a second before you click the big blue button, I know we love clicking buttons. Just go look at that sender. It's usually the big giveaway. Like here's at facebookmail.com. That's totally sus. Okay. Don't click it. Disregard it. If this is an actual problem, go to your Meta Business portfolio and look for the notifications there. They're not just going to send you an email, it's going to be in your actual business platform. Here's one that we got from Google a while back as well. This looks pretty legit with a really enticing, blue button at the bottom. But as you kind of scrape into it a little bit and you start looking at what's going on, well, Google workspace alerts no reply at google.com is the sender on that. So I would just encourage you all, when in doubt, don't click it. Go to the networks before you get hijacked. I've seen this far too many times here in the last year, especially. It's getting really, really sophisticated. All right. I don't want to make you paranoid or scared, but I also kind of want you to be paranoid and scared at the same time. So just a quick refresh, because all of this could have been avoided with just some simple best practices stuff. Strong, unique passwords. We do digital social media audits, and we'll request passwords from DMOs for platforms. And sometimes, a lot of the time, it is city name and a year, or we've even seen password. Like this is one of your simplest things that you could do is do strong, unique passwords. And I know two-factor authentication is kind of a pain in the butt. I totally get it. But turn this stuff on. This would have been another option, another opportunity for people to kind of not get hijacked. So the two-factor authentication is key. The other thing is like take a look at your privacy settings. It seems like every time we get an update on our phone or an app updates, those settings kind of reset or they change or they go to a new default. It's important, to be regularly reviewing some of those privacy settings. And then probably the bigger one is just suspicious requests. If you don't recognize it, don't click on it, don't engage with it, move on. All right. Now, another one that we should be paying attention to as well is public Wi-Fi. Accessing our accounts from public Wi-Fi accounts, they can be super vulnerable, and schemes are getting more and more sophisticated as time goes on. And I also know a lot of us use third-party apps. Okay, we're using third-party apps to manage or schedule our software. Great, use the tools that you love and the tools that you trust. But if you're trying something new, make sure you do your own diligence and make sure that these are safe. That you're updating the apps and things like that. Location services, I'm sure some of you have seen some of the notices in the media lately. Location services are vulnerabilities for all of us as well. And then the other kind of big one is just like keep tabs on it, keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on these accounts. Monitor your activity really, really carefully. If you see something that you didn't do, that can also be a little red flag. Just a little bit of a warning sign is all you need that something may be off. I lead with that just because it's really heartbreaking to talk to a DMO after months of trying to regain access to an account only to tell them kind of SOL, we're going to have to start over on that. And again, it's pretty rare that we're able to save these. So my number one no brainer is we've put a lot of time and effort into these accounts over the time. So protect them. All right. Take your security very, very seriously. Second one, this is another kind of a vulnerability, I think, for CVBs right now that we need to be paying attention to. So number two, accessibility. Your website, your digital assets online, 100% need to be accessible to all. Now, we should just be wanting to do this just because it's the right thing to do. All right. Our stuff should be accessible. But there's also some laws and things that we need to be dealing with here. We're tax funded organizations, and it's clearly stated, that these websites and these different assets that we have, they need to fall in line with the ADA requirements. And we've been seeing kind of more and more and more kind of news articles starting to pop out talking about lawsuits and people kind of being targeted because their stuff wasn't up to task. So I think CVBs are a pretty ripe potential target for some of these types of things. And I want you to take it really, really seriously. I would do an accessibility check on your website immediately just to make sure that we avoid headlines like this. All right. Supreme Court's ruling on stuff. Domino's is a piece of it. Kohl's, big brands, big brands are out there. They're getting flagged with this stuff. So I can only imagine, that CVBs as well are going to be pretty vulnerable. So luckily there are some free tests or free tools out there that you can test your accessibility and most importantly, identify the issues that you may have. Okay. So just go to wave.webaim.org and you'll get a free test. If you got some major glaring errors, it'll point that stuff out. Most of the time when we're dealing with this stuff, it's usually contrast errors. It's usually buttons are too small. It's usually some SEO elements of not labeling buttons or not properly managing pages, things like that. But this free tool here can help identify some of those. So I really encourage everyone on the call today to really future-proof yourself, protect yourself by making sure that you're making an effort, in order to fix some of this stuff. At TwoSix, we're also working on rolling out an accessibility audit. If that's something you really want to dive into, don't hesitate. Email me and I'm happy to share some more information about some of that stuff. So accessibility is kind of the big buzzword right now. And if you haven't checked to see like where you're at, I really encourage you to do that. Number three, I think this is one of those that I think we all kind of feel the pain on. And I can't really summarize it much better than to kind of just throw one of my favorite gifts up. And that's that curveball, that Google kind of threw all of us when they launched the marvelous Google Analytics 4. I'm not going to lie, this has been a hell of a learning curve, over the last year and a half or so to get up to speed with Google Analytics. And I feel like I'm kind of ahead of the ball a little bit when it comes to this. But just last week, I was on a call and I actually added this into the presentation pretty late. I was on this call with a client and they were kind of giving me the whole sky is falling, tourism is suffering, Canadian travel is down, like just going off all of these talking points. And while I was talking, I was just like, I don't know, none of that really, really seems right. Have you looked at your Google Analytics to like see what's really going on? And to my shock, honestly, the response was, I just don't understand. That really confuses me, right? The look on this person's face was almost like they were staring at the Matrix code or something like that. And I get it. I went, early in my GA4 education, getting up to speed, super frustrating. Everything means something different. Everything's located in a new place. We have to navigate, this new space. It's challenging. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is something that I think we all really need to challenge ourselves to get one step better, every day to make sure that we have data that we can act on and build strategies from and improve what we're doing on the day to day. Okay. Super important that we do this. In this particular case, after I listened to, the whole sky is falling, oh, everything's really bad, we opened up the Google Analytics account and I about fell out of my chair. If you don't know, if you don't look, you don't know what's going on. Website traffic on this website was actually up 97% or 96%. And if you go down line by line, we're going through, hey, your paid social is up 1,200% year over year. Oh my God, your organic search is up 52% year over year. We're looking at paid search, organic search, that's up 91%, right? So the story that she was assuming wasn't true at all. So we all got to get this Google Analytics for and get used to navigating this tool, because otherwise we're not telling ourselves an accurate story. And I think we're claiming there's some sort of a disaster when actually things are pretty good. By the end of that call, we were kind of building out a board report, and that person was really excited to go to that meeting to show the results. But if we wouldn't have taken the time to just look at what the actual data is saying, we would have never known. The attitude going into that meeting would have been completely different. So Google Analytics 4, getting up to speed with how to use that will prevent you from making inaccurate assumptions about what is going on, right? That was an incredible thing to kind of witness the other week. I was like, oh my God, everything's wonderful. What are you feeling so bad about? Now
Brian,
Google did Google. Oh, go ahead.
I think everybody's not seeing your screen. Can you check and
Oh
make sure
no,
you're still sharing right?
it says I'll stop share. I'll reopen it here. Give me a second.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully that hasn't been going on forever. Let's go like this. Can we see it now?
Yep, all good now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, something fiddle. But yeah, so luckily Google just launched some new courses. We were really kind of hungry for some like true education that's going on. So now we do have skill shop. So if you go to Google Skill Shop, you can actually take some courses to get up to speed on Google Analytics. And we're also focused on GA4 a lot with Destination Uplift as well. So Destination Uplift, right now we have 3 courses within the Destination Uplift course material that you can offer to your partners, but you can also use to develop your staff. These literally show you where to find a piece of data, where to click it. And I think it's really great because we're talking tourism with this stuff. So Uplift is already kind of primed for it. With this one, it's really about just getting reps. It took me a while to like get into GA4 myself. This is what I do all the time. But once you start getting reps, you start getting familiar with the platform and everything starts to do just fine. So GA4 knowledge, really, really key. Just want to hit on number 4 here. And this is one that we're getting a ton of inquiries about right now. And a lot of you, or those of you who are looking at your Google Analytics 4, probably are seeing some sort of a decline in your organic traffic. Now, this isn't everybody. We actually see a lot of people that are up in organic traffic, but people really, for the most part, are just hitting this panic button right now and saying, damn AI, the AI snippets that are popping up on Google are stealing, kind of our traffic in that space. Interestingly, just last week, I was looking at some articles. TechCrunch had an article. Google denies AI search features are killing website traffic. Now, immediately when I seen that headline, I feel a little sus about that, right? But from everything that we've really seen, there's a couple things that we can do to ensure that we're kind of in that mix and we're not being hurt as terribly. In most cases, it ultimately seems to be coming down to your organic SEO optimization on that site. Are you optimized for organic search to begin with? DMO sites have a huge advantage. These websites have been around a long time and they have a lot of authority. Okay. There's a ton of authority out there. So if you can optimize your site, you can position yourself really, really, really well. So when it comes to blaming AI for this stuff, I'm not sure that's necessarily 100% true at this point. I think before we start blaming AI, we actually have to start looking at our organic SEO elements and trying to optimize those. Now, similarly, we have a whole course on search engine optimization you can do. Again, available to your partners, available to you when you subscribe to Destination Uplift. It's a crash course in SEO And, we do organic SEO optimizations all the time at TwoSix. And you'd be surprised, man. It's in a bit of a lowly state in a lot of cases. And there is a ton of opportunity for improvement in that area. Now, interesting, it doesn't just come down to organic SEO. Some recent information came out. This came out just this week, actually. What are the AIs looking at and citing in the results that they're throwing out there? Well, you see Wikipedia, that makes sense. See Reddit, see a lot of Reddit popping up lately. But there's one in here that I've always kind of harped on DMOs to do a better job with, and that's YouTube, right? So AI overviews right here, YouTube. It's scraping YouTube to get these answers. So kind of a challenge or a side quest, if you will, as we move towards 2026. I think it's really a great time for DMOs to start to fortify those YouTube channels and start to give AI more of what it wants. Developing a long tail strategy for evergreen content through your YouTube channel that addresses search, just like we would like an organic or a paid search strategy, really makes a lot of sense right now when we can look and see that YouTube is a key player when it comes to generating some of those AI results. So I think that's a big one. That's a big opportunity. I've for years now just been almost begging DMOs to do something with their YouTube channels. Now's the perfect time. No more excuses. So next one here, this actually kind of brings me back a few years. But number 5 is something we got to be paying attention to as well. And that's these kind of copyright issues that keep popping up. All right. So the copyright issues are mostly, in a lot of cases, coming down to music and sounds that we're using in vertical content for TikToks and Reels and things like that. So again, big brands, big names are getting involved in a lot of these types of things. And we have to be careful about it. But it does remind me of, something that went down a few years ago that I know impacted a lot of DMOs. We were seeing this quite a bit at TwoSix. And a lot of it was coming from Pinterest or image copyright infringement lawsuits, where, this was like probably 21, 22, 2023, stuff like that, where CVBs were just, hey, you're going to pay me $5,000 or you're going to pay me $2,000 or whatever, because you used this photo. I think this is a very similar situation that we're in when we're dealing with the music copyrights and things that are going on now. There's actually a really simple solution, and it's not to put yourself in that position kind of too big to begin with at the same point. So just use the approved sounds. Have a professional account. Many times when we're doing audits, we're looking at, a TikTok account and someone's keeping that as a creator account or a personal account in a way, so that they can access a lot of these copywritten sounds. Don't do that. Stop being cute and trying to like game the system and work around the system. You're going to lose at the end of the day. So make sure you only use the sounds from the approved library. So that's rule number 1. But the other piece of it is that we're seeing some really nice trends when it comes to the video that we're using in, say, advertising campaigns and things like that. Okay. And what tends to work best is when you actually control the sounds. And that could mean a bunch of things. That could mean maybe you're just doing a simple narration, something like that. But what has been working really, really well are just basic environmental sounds, just getting out of the way. Like you almost don't need a voice. Environmental sounds and just basic narrations can go a really long way in making your content interesting. And that's really what we're going for. Sometimes it seems like when we jump on trends too fast, or we're just trying to use a sound for the sake of, it's popular, let's use it. It's kind of a square peg, round hole kind of a situation where honestly, it just kind of feels desperate, at the end of the day. You're trying to lean into this trend. And I think like if you're not using the approved sounds, you're really opening yourself up to some potential problems when it comes to copyright. So stop being cute, use a professional account, use the approved sound libraries, and really start playing around with the narrations and environmental sounds. If you're out in the woods, just let's hear the crickets, let's hear the birds, let's hear the stuff. It's like some ASMR stuff that you can start doing. It can actually make your stuff more interesting when you do that, and you can kind of rest easy at night at the end of the day as well. Okay. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I infringing something? Is my account going to get a strike? Stuff like that. So you can just kind of relax, breathe a little bit, move on. So moving through here, this is probably, I spend most of my consulting hours talking about number six. And it's freaking a lot of people out. And it is this continued decline in social media organic reach and especially engagement at the end of the day. Brands pretty much across the board right now are just seeing less organic or free organic engagement, coming into their sites. A lot of times I feel bad for people. It's like, oh, yeah, that's really, really hard. And I want to get my little violin out and be like, oh, I'm with you. I feel bad. But the reaction to having this lower reach or this lower engagement tends to be this, well, I'm just going to post more. And a lot of times what that does is it kind of compounds the problem that you're having. So if you're experiencing lower organic reach or lower organic engagements, the one thing you have to do is blame Mark Zuckerberg. Okay. I'm actually totally kidding. It's not Mark Zuckerberg's fault either. Although a lot of people do just like to say, oh, Meta, they changed the rules. It's not working like it used to. At the end of the day, it comes down to really us looking ourselves in the mirror about the quality of the content that we're really pushing out there. Um, Quality is everything. And when I say quality, I don't mean it's got to be polished and edited in some incredible way, right? You don't need $20,000 cameras and helicopter shots and things like that. But what it does need to do is it just needs to be interesting. And when we look at DMO content, a lot of times it literally is insert city name here. It's not really breaking away or differentiating itself or really showcasing what is cool about whatever it is. You have to strive to be interesting because right now, attention is the currency. If you can get attention, your organic efforts are going to start going up. But in order to get that attention, you've got to start being more creative, having more fun with the content. Thinking about your audience is another big piece of the puzzle here. Who are we trying to reach, and what types of messaging will they find interesting that will then generate attention and increase our growth? It's a quality over quantity game. If you put out lukewarm content today, day after day after day, you're ultimately just sliding further down that scale of reach and engagement. I would much rather see a DMO today, and this is very different from how it was 3, 4 years ago. I would much rather see, one incredibly well thought out post created for the audience, amplified and pushed out to the right people so it actually generates that engagement. You don't have to feel like you just have to constantly be delivering content to the feeds. It's ultimately comes down to a quality game. You can get into it here. Drone footage is a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to start playing with here as well. Gaylord tubing. We talked about some of those things in some reels that were popping up, and it was pretty incredible to see the results of like one well placed video. Is everybody having any type of a Zoom issue right now?
I think everybody's okay, Brian. I haven't gotten any more comments or anything. I think there was some echo in the beginning, but I think that might have
Interesting.
been isolated.
I'm going to try and pop up this deck again. Just bear with me here. And hopefully we can get this sorted out. But let me just kind of keep talking about this one piece of content that Gaylord produced basically blew away like 20 different posts that they made the rest of the month, right? Like they had one really good post that outperformed all of this effort that went into creating a bunch of kind of mediocre content. So again, less is more when it comes to what's happening in this space, more quality. Just trying to reboot here real quick. I apologize for this. Does anybody have any questions? Melissa, did any questions kind of pop up?
Let's see.
Happy to field
No,
those.
it just everybody said all good now in the
Oh,
chat.
good.
It looks like
Perfect.
whatever was plaguing you has been resolved.
Has been resolved. Yeah, let me just pull this back up because I want to show you some of these examples right here. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Let's do this. This. And hopefully, can you see the screen with the tubing moving now? It's very odd.
I see it, Brian.
Awesome. We have motion again.
Yeah, we just have there looks like there's a little error box that's popped up.
Oh, weird.
Beyond that, though, we see your screen.
Let's try this again then.
That looks legit.
And let's go there. Wonderful. So let's go back to this. So again, this is just one post. This was a drone shot that they actually had just archived. This generated on Facebook 3.2 million views. Okay. TikTok 245,000 views. And what I really want to kind of hammer on here is that this is something that is evergreen in nature. Okay. This is going to be available for every year. They can come back to a piece of content like this. So when you're building this stuff, make sure that you're doing that because a lot of us have a ton of low hanging fruit to use. Here's like the ultimate low hanging fruit. So Frankenmuth, very historic area. They call it Little Bavaria in Michigan. They have old time postcards, right, with just photos. When they published these little photos, it's a little photo album on Facebook. This costs basically nothing to create. That, and this is like basically just off launch. It was viewed 32,000 times, had 388 interactions. Okay. This is easy. Anybody could do this. And history does sell on content. That's one thing that we're really, really seeing. Here's the one place where this fell off, though, and that I would scold them for is that there was no story extender in this post, right? So we're showing all these great locations, but they didn't include a link in that mix to actually extend the story and get people to our website so we can get them into like our true marketing funnel. But don't think you have to like bring in film crews in order to do stuff. Here's some other examples of just having fun with content, right? Where's my beach resting face? I love that one. Don't be afraid to just get out in your own destination. This is all just smartphone shot video with 3-second clips of something that's interesting. And the performance of this is very well. And what ultimately comes down to it is stringing together wins when it comes to your content. So if you have something take off and something do well, you need to just rinse and repeat and get right back after it. Okay. The other little nuance that we're seeing, and it seems so minor, but it's actually really important, is that if you look at the content types, and this is for Instagram, for example, carousels are getting the highest engagement rate pretty much by far. This actually surprised me. I thought it was going to be reels, but carousels perform really well with your existing fans. So your messaging when you're doing carousels or photo albums should be really different from the content that you're doing for your reels. Reels are actually really good at reaching outside of your existing audience base, and it's more of an awareness building tool. So maybe more generalized themes, like it's more of a you're informing people of what's going on, where you can use carousels to maybe get more into the nuance and get more specific. Because typically the carousel users are going to be more familiar with your product. The Reels people, this might be the first time they've ever seen you in their feed. So you need to introduce yourself a little bit better on Reels. That's a really good play to be able to do. Similarly, we have a course for social media publishing tips and tricks that is filled, and this is in Destination Uplift, that's just filled with different little little things that you can start thinking about to make your content better. I'm telling you, quality, thoughtfulness, be interesting, start having fun with some of this content, and you'll be in a great, great place. So, kind of moving through here, let's get to number 7. And this kind of plays right into what we were just talking about. And it constantly blows my mind how often we don't have DMOs with a really well organized content war chest of just seasonal photos, event specific photos, activity specific photos that we can use and find and really play off of each other. Because when we run certain images in an ad, right, there's always going to be one that performs better. And that's kind of the money shot. We can only test so much if you only have so much. So I just encourage everybody to, like, this next year moving forward, get out there and start building your content library. Get out there with cameras and smartphones even. I don't even care. Frame up good photos and start building these archives because one, it's going to help you on the organic side. And, it's also going to help any agency that you work with as well, because the more assets we have to play with, the better the content is going to be. And your ultimate goal is to just be super recyclable with a lot of these assets that you have. And it's a big, I'm surprised how often this comes up in conversations, honestly, oh, we don't have photos for that. Well, this is the 20th year that this has been going on. We don't have photos. So what's going on? Because once you kind of have that library going, you can kind of look out and see kind of exactly what works. What are the strong shots, the strong photos, the strong themes? And what you're really ultimately striving to do is come up with that recipe card that works. The other problem that kind of goes along with content marketing right now, I think, is that we're really schizophrenic and we're throwing a lot of things out there when instead we should be looking at what works and then building recipes based off that to really simplify it. It's like, what's our shtick? What's the shtick that is really working for you? If you think about like who you follow on TikTok or who you're following on Reels, chances are they have a really narrow type of shtick that they're working with. And it's something that just hits easy. It's something they want to see. We're not having to reinvent the wheel every single time. And one of my biggest wishes, honestly, for DMOs would just to be allow themselves to just get weird. Let's have fun with this stuff. So often, we're just making content to like basically show a yellow listing ad, or you're like, here's what it is. When we're not like getting into the nuances or the little micro details that are huge. And I get these ads on Instagram all the time, and I just wonder, like, why can't we get more creative? When can we get creative with scratch card adventure posts? Things like this. We have our visitor guides and we're throwing this content out like that. And that's wonderful. But man, we have the means to do some really, really, really creative things when we really get down to it. And I think one of the core problems with a lot of it is that we're not speaking to our audience. A lot of times we're motivated by pleasing our stakeholders. We need to make sure they get featured, or we need to talk about XYZ, when really we need to be kind of flipping that focus over to the audience. What does our audience want to see? What resonates with our audience? And creating more content that is actually working rather than, constantly being like, oh, we got to talk about so and so. It's a bit of a paradigm shift that we need to do. Because as soon as we can get the attention and we can start getting some engagement and interest on our content, that's when kind of the old school social media kind of starts to come right back out. Okay. They start talking, they start liking. One of the best like indicators that we can get is stakeholders or is shares on a post, right? You start to see that share button clicking up, 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 and up. You're on your recipe, that you're on it, and that you need to rinse, repeat, and replicate. And that's when it really starts to become fun because you've really kind of found your lane. And you can start to run through that stuff. You take a deep breath, you can kind of sit back and relax a little bit. And I always like to go back to the whole idea of like DMOs, like what really are we? Yeah, we're destination marketing organizations. We got a lot of mouths to feed. We got a lot of things to represent. But if you really ultimately boil it down in most cases, there's one or two things that really drive the visitation. And the bulk of everything else is like a supporting act, that helps really kind of round out that destination stay. So we're pretty good at marketing. And I think we're getting a little bit better at destination management. This is the whole other kind of buzzword that went around where we're improving our product and we're being a part of that. That's awesome. That's part of the game too. But when it comes to marketing and getting the word out and being interesting and getting this attention, I really believe we need to start becoming more of a media organization than anything else. When you look at what sells, what moves people, what motivates people, it's really the content that we're creating and pushing out there. And when I say a media organization, I do not mean talking head videos about why you made your flower shop or why you built the art gallery. No, it's the interesting, cool stuff from a visitor perspective that really makes something stand out. I do think a lot of bureaus are burning a lot of money, really when they're doing these like highly engaged types of media pieces. We don't need to be doing that. The other thing that I like to think about a lot too is it's like DMOs do a lot of influencer marketing, and we're working with a lot of great influencers that come in and tell great stories. But I don't think that they're thinking of themselves as an influencer. And that would be a really, really nice mentality to have when you're talking about your destination. Take a look at how some of these influencers are communicating. You're like, what's their tone and their content? Why aren't we doing that? We're very push in our marketing, right? We're very, here it is. This is when it is. This is what it is. This is when you can go there, blah, blah, blah. We need to kind of adopt that influencer thing and kind of wear that kind of loud and proud because the tools that are available to us today are vast. All right. Like this, making great content, interesting content doesn't have to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Our iPhones in our pocket right now are incredible. And those of you who were at Tech Summit, saw kind of the test drive of the Insta360 series of cameras to where literally pulling a camera out of your pocket, we can replicate expensive drone, shoots that we're trying to organize now. I mean, when I was in Fargo, we rented a helicopter just because we needed unique perspectives. Now we have all the tools in the world to be able to make things that maybe aren't even that interesting look really, really interesting. And, this whole content creation, the content war chest is a really pivotal part of what we're doing on the content marketing side. And again, on Destination Uplift, we've got courses for improving video and photos, how to post better on TikTok that not only you can share with your partners to help them do better, right? They start creating some content, they're going to start giving you some content. So you're not doing all the heavy lifting yourself on that. But you can also share this with your team, and everybody gets better. Rising tides lifts all boats. So I encourage you to check out destinationuplift.com. Getting towards the end of the list here is 8. And this is something I think a lot of us at TwoSix Digital just wish more people would do. And it's leaning into your differentiator. You know what that one thing is, the reason why people visit. Own that and get laser focus on that. Establish your destination niches and really dive into it. Again, a lot of times we're trying to please too many people with this marketing, when in fact we have one really awesome thing that we need to be dealing with. So please stop, trying to be the partner pleaser at the end of the day. What we really need to be doing is looking for those incredible stories because when you can lean into your power niche and you can own it, that audience is going to come along for the ride, especially if you can tie that recipe right back into it. Things go really well. So don't be afraid to do that and just own that niche. And I encourage you as well to test things organically. Okay. Just because the numbers are down doesn't really matter. How many shares did it get? How many comments is it generating? Is it getting a bunch of reactions? Did it drive traffic? And look for those themes and the way you made a piece of content and then hone in on that stuff. But when you do see something kind of hit and really work really, really well, I give you like all the permission in the world to just go ahead and push the button and light that up through a strategic paid plan. Paid social allows us as DMOs to really just hit the bullseye with every piece of content so that every piece of content that you make really finds the right people in the right place at the right time with a piece of content that's really going to move them into action. Content marketing is fun and we can do a lot of cool things, but at the end of the day, it should be really intentional. And that kind of leans on looking at insights, looking at your meta insights, looking at Google Analytics 4 to see what's driving traffic, what's popular, and going from there. And once you kind of take ownership of this stuff, this is when you dive into the sales funnel. And this is probably one of the weakest spots for a lot of DMOs. We rock at awareness marketing, of getting the word out about stuff, but we're not really that good at steps one, two, or two steps two and three, to sign up for the newsletter, get the visitor guide, download the passport, whatever it is. When you can drive traffic and start getting engagement, that's when you deploy retargeting campaigns. And that's when you really start to nurture people towards a visit over time. It's not one hit wonder stuff. It's like somebody sees our blog one day and they're like, oh my God, I got to go. No, it's usually a bit of a process to get people to move through there. And again, similarly on Destination Uplift, we've got data driven campaigns on a budget, right? You can learn how to do it. And most importantly, I think your partners learn how to do it. Now you got a bunch of people out there doing a bunch of really good marketing for your destination, and it really helps everybody out. Lastly, I'm going to throw a little bone out to people that I think get overlooked in our industry just a little bit. And it ultimately comes down to LinkedIn. If you manage meetings, sports, group tour, anything like that, LinkedIn is probably the sharpest tool in your toolbox right now. And I encourage you to start getting a consistent company page going. All right. I think it's really, really important. Whenever I bring up LinkedIn, this is exactly the look that I get from people. LinkedIn? What? No, LinkedIn is an incredible sales tool. It's a great networking tool. And it's one where you can really, again, just nurture leads over time. So if you're not using your LinkedIn company page, that would be a really good thing to bake into your strategy for next year. Really start to say, I'm going to put one or two posts out on our company LinkedIn page next year. I'm going to start being visible. And if you're really serious about it and you want to start generating some leads, I'm actually really excited about this new LinkedIn product that's out there. It's called LinkedIn Premium Page. It's an upgrade of your company page to where salespeople could actually see the people who are visiting the page. You can add custom call to actions. You can add testimonials. You can do all kinds of really cool things for this. And from a sales perspective, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to start leveraging this stuff. Now, it might not solve like all of the problems in marketing to basically what I equate to unicorns at the end of the day. You're trying to find meeting event planners, sports planners, things like that. But it is going to position you better than most because not a lot of people are using these tools right now. And LinkedIn is very hungry for content. So when you publish, you do get aware, you get impressions, you get out into people's feeds. So I think LinkedIn is a no-brainer. And I would encourage all CVBs who are in that space, the meeting, sports, tournaments, all that kind of stuff, to go take a look at like what Choose Lansing does and what the Aspen Chamber is doing with their LinkedIn and the types of pieces of content that they're making for those different markets. They're doing cool stuff there, and they're actually seeing some positive results there. So encourage you to go check that kind of stuff out. I think that'd be huge. And then this last one, really I want to kind of wrap this up in a nice little bow, kind of for everybody. And it ultimately is a challenge to you. So the challenge right now is, I threw a lot of stuff out there, some stuff that everybody needs to be thinking about. And I think most of it is pretty darn important as you go through all this stuff. I really want to challenge everybody, to tell your partners three things that you learned from today's webinar. Okay. We have this luxury, as destination marketers to go to top-notch events all over the country. We go to Tech Summit every year and we all learn a ton. Are you coming back from those events and sharing the knowledge with our most important asset, which are our small businesses, attractions, properties, and things in our destination? Go share the wealth with them. go share the wealth with them a little bit. Make a little list of 3 things next time you're talking to a partner, and say, hey, I was on this webinar this last week and they brought up like 2 really good points or 3 really good points or something, and help them get better, because right now the CVBs are doing a ton of the heavy lifting when it comes to marketing the destination. Keep in mind, I do hours and hours and hours of consulting, whether it's with DMOs or small businesses and nonprofits. And it's brutal out there. A lot of our partners of the DMO, our members, all those people, they don't know how to market themselves. Like they're very antiquated in what they're doing. And that really leaves the CVB in a tough spot because you're having to do all the freaking work. Now, if we could get all the partners upping their marketing game and doing great things, that only helps everyone else. And I really do believe that the CVB can be the facilitator of this throughout our communities. It's that whole thing. We've heard it a million times. It's a rising tide lifts all boats. But when you can get your top attractions and your properties and your events all upping their marketing game and moving through stuff, that just enhances the digital footprint of the entire destination. And our awareness is going to go through the roof. Okay. It helps. We need to get everybody kind of playing ball together. The CVB is doing all the work right now. So we want to get the partners going. And that's really ultimately where the whole idea of destination uplift came along. So for years, TwoSix Digital, we'd be out on the road doing single day workshops for DMOs. We show up in person, do 4 or 5 hours of digital marketing education, and then poof, we'd be gone. All right. And over time, one, we can only be so many places to help small businesses do better. But overall, we were like, this needs to be a more consistent, a more ongoing education piece. And that's where Destination Uplift came into really being. It was like, let's do monthly webinars. Let's give digital marketing education courses to small businesses, attractions, properties, anybody in these destinations, so that it actually helps everyone out. You can see here, there's no shortage of different courses, mini courses, full-blown webinars of us painstakingly going through click by click, detail by detail, how to do certain things. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you would just go check out Destination Uplift, because there is a whole wealth of knowledge there. And the one thing that I really love about it as well is that we've got these professionally produced webinars and dozens of mini courses that, depending on where you're at, where your team is at, or where your partners are at, there are going to be courses there that are going to be able to help them kind of move their needle. We send out a schedule of all the webinars. We handle all the registration. We pretty much do most of it to get the word out. All you got to do is get the word out to your partners. And some of the benefits of it are the 10 educational webinars that go out throughout the year. Okay. It's very similar to this type of programming, only a little bit more polished. And then the extensive library of on-demand content courses. And ultimately, all that is pretty much every question we've ever gotten from somebody from one of our webinars. We just made a course to answer that question. So if you have a lot of partners coming to you with marketing questions over time, well, just let's get them onto Destination Uplift, and all those questions will go away. You can just direct them right over there. And then this is something that's being regularly updated as well. So as the changes come hard and fast, we're able to get those courses updated and make sure they're getting the most current information ever. And I think, like, if DMOs kind of sign on to Destination Uplift, I mean, you are kind of the focal point, the leader, right, in your destination that is helping dozens and dozens of businesses, and the goodwill that comes out of that can be huge. And then on the flip side of that, you're only going to reap the rewards of the elevated marketing effort as a whole throughout that destination. I just think CVBs really have this opportunity for a big win-win when it comes to that. The biggest obstacle when it comes to a Destination Uplift is, how much work is this going to cause us, from the DMO perspective? And ultimately, we do all the heavy lifting. All you have to do is share the opportunity with your partners, integrate it into your e-newsletter that's going out to your partners, get it out in front of them, talk about it at the annual meeting, whatever it is. And then each month we'll send you a little media kit with the information and the links to share for the next webinar. It's really clean. It's really simple. Your only role really in this is to get the word out. And the benefits of doing so are huge. The other thing that we really stressed at TwoSix Digital when we developed this out as well was we wanted to make this affordable for DMOs to get it out there because we really do believe in raising everybody up. All the small businesses, attractions, you name it. So DMOs with a budget less than $3 million a year, it's $9,500. If you're over $3 million a year, it's 15 grand. To put that in perspective, if we were going to come and do an in-person event, you're probably talking at 5 grand. If we're going to do a webinar event special for you, it's going to be $2,500 minimum. So in this case, you're getting 10 plus webinars, the learning library, and all this goodwill coming out of this. So I think it's priced really affordably, and I think we can really make a difference. Education is my passion. That's what I love. So this is just such a huge opportunity. And I like to just think of it as the ultimate, what have you done for me lately that you can offer to your stakeholders? And we've had great feedback. We launched this last fall with kind of a test group of bureaus, and the feedback has been incredible. We're making a difference. We're helping businesses not only do better marketing, but I think we are directly helping bottom lines. And we are helping drive the economy, which I think is incredibly satisfying to be able to do. So this is huge. We had a really great group of DMOs join us for this program in 2025. And we'd love to have everybody involved in this thing. So feel free to reach out to any of them. They'd be happy to tell you about the program and honestly how easy it is to use. If you need more information on Uplift, scan the QR code. All right. So you get some more information about that. But again, the benefits of the program are huge, and the education offering, it's deep, man. Like whether or not you're an 098 level marketer or you're a 301 marketer, Destination Uplift is really covering all that gap, and it's filling in all the spaces and really taking people to those next levels. I would love to talk to anybody on the webinar about it. So if you want to book a quick chat, just scan that QR code and just book some time in my calendar, and we'll talk about it. Because again, it's like, what have you done for me lately is one of the questions the CVBs get, all the time. This is one of those things. It's like, hey, man, we gave you the keys to the car to be able to really effectively market your business from honestly some of the smartest people in tourism. We've been doing education programs for a really, really, really long time. So it's one of those things where you can really, truly bring the destination together. The CVB doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. And yeah, I just see nothing but positives coming out of that. So this is a really good snapshot of our trends and opportunities that we have coming up. And I think we covered a lot of ground. I tried to pace myself, right? I think I ended up taking like 60 slides out of this thing before the presentation today, just because I was like, oh, that might blow a gasket if we go through there. So right now I'm just going to kind of stop the flow. I think those are things that we can all be focusing on. I'll just quickly summarize. Just say, take that security super seriously, please. I don't want to have more phone calls like I've had here over the last year. Pay attention to that accessibility. Get trained up on GA4. Optimize your organic SEO on your website. It'll help combat you on so many levels from some of these changes that are happening. Use those approved music libraries to, again, insulate yourself from any of these issues that are inevitably coming. Add to and organize your content war chest for evergreen impact. I think that's really important. Go find your shtick, or AKA, go get weird. Go start having fun with your content and get that attention. Lean into your differentiator. Don't feel like you have to please everybody. That narrative in this industry really, really needs to change. And then don't sleep on LinkedIn. I'm going to keep talking about LinkedIn over and over and over again because I think it is so viable for meetings and sports markets in a huge way. And then let's share the knowledge with everybody around us. And one way we can do that is empower, all of our partners, all of our members with Destination Uplift, or at the very least, take 3 things that you learned from today's webinar and send out a group email and just say, hey, these are 3 things we should really be paying attention to because things are changing fast and hard. So that takes us to the finish line. I hope this was enjoyable for everybody. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for the e-newsletter. All right. It's a great newsletter, easy peasy. And I'll give a copy of this deck so you'll all have this as a resource. Check out TwoSix. That's our services guide. check out Destination Uplift. We'd love to have you on board this year. And if you want to chat more about it, book a call. I'd love to talk to everybody there. And I thank you, Melissa and One West Alliance for the opportunity to present to the group today. For anybody who signs up to Destination Uplift in 2025-26, we're actually donating money to support the Foundation for Research and Scholarships. So a portion of the proceeds from Uplift come right back to One West Alliance. And it's just like our way of saying thank you to everybody there. So thanks for being here today. And I hope everybody got a nugget or two out of this.
Brian, thank you so much. We're so grateful to have you today. Thank you so much for supporting the foundation. We did have one quick question. I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to answer that now, or if not, we can definitely have this person there, an anonymous attendee, but
Sure.
we can have them reach out afterwards. They said they'd love to hear more about how DMOs might optimize their YouTube feeds.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
probably not a quick answer.
yeah, definitely not a quick answer, but that also is going to be a course on Destination Uplift as well. So we'll be covering that. And I think that that would be a really good session at Tech Summit.
I think it sounds like a great session. You can absolutely submit that. We would love that. If the person who asked that question wants to reach out, we'll put you in touch with Brian.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much again, Brian, TwoSix Digital. We're so grateful to have you today. And we will be posting this to both our YouTube and to our website tomorrow.
Perfect. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you joining us.